All right, everybody. Week one, football is back. Great week one for us over at Gridiron AI. Myself, Rob, and Andy, some of the guys behind the scenes at Gridiron AI, all had winning weeks. We'll get into the specifics of mine. I actually had a really big week with my cash lineup. Did really well. In the sense that it didn't lose. So that's always good. So I swept cash, 100% of my cash games I won. And that means like head to head, 50-50, double up. Those are like the terms that we use for like cash games. And then I entered that same lineup into a single entry tournament and it got 11th out of like 1,000 people. So that's like a $10 entry and it was like a $400 return. So overall in the week, I had like a 600% ROI because I threw another lineup in the showdown and it did well. Going to share one on Instagram tonight that you can just play in cash games, which is pretty soft on showdown slates. And it's the optimal lineup that we produce with our Gridiron AI aggregated projections. I mean, it's just tough to beat. And just because like people make a lot of mistakes in those head-to-head games on the primetime slate. So I'll go through all of that. Doesn't look like we have anybody watching yet, but Rob's already got some lineups here. Rob is playing Melvin Gordon, Tyler Lockett, Alberto, Rashad Penny, Geno Smith, and Javonte Williams. So just a live breakdown here because to be honest with you, I'm not sure what this stream is going to be. We're going to recap some stuff. I have some things that we should be keeping an eye on that might be updating our priors, updating our previous thoughts, and then we are going to take a look at like usage type stuff. So I want to recap week one. I'll go through this lineup of Rob's, talk a little bit about tonight's game, and then I'm just going to take some time and figure out an actual schedule for this show. But it's important to get some reps in on the streaming. I'm hoping to be consistent with this year. And it's easy to be consistent and come talk about your results when you do well. So we're going to jump in and talk about those results tonight. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and drop them into the chat. So what we're looking at here is our fantasy projections. But one thing I want to look at is just a real quick, like our money line model did pretty well, went 4 of 7. Which if you're betting all of these, we had some underdogs in there that hit. You probably came out about even. The money line model over the full sample of the season is pretty good. So if you have a bankroll and just kind of want to ride that, put 25% of your bankroll down during the week, and then as the bankroll grows, keep doing the 25%. That's how you compound the return. We think at Gridiron AI that this model is a plus expected value over the course of a season. So like you said, gamble responsibly. We certainly think that putting a little bit of money on all of these bets rather than going with your strongest feeling each week is a better long-term strategy. So to summarize that, if you are going to make money line bets, they're a little easier to beat than the spread. Our model is a little bit more successful on the money line than it is on the spread. I did not build this model. This is Andy's baby. So first of all questions and concerns go to him. But this is how he's explained it to me. So if we have $50, we spread that $50 across these 7 bets rather than putting $50 all on one. And over the course of the season, you should see a positive expected value return. So that's kind of how we think about it. At a certain point, like it's still gambling. So please keep that in mind. The spread, the way it's been communicated to me, didn't do as well this week. Typically the spread modeled is either really, really good or really, really not so good. And team scores. Yeah. So overall, this model did okay. Our projections, let's do that. So here's the projections versus the actual. This is the final. So like a couple of different things I do differently is I'm not just using one projection source. I'm using our projections. I'm using Rob's projections, and then I'm aggregating them with a bunch of other sources. So some of the other sources that I had are like Stochastic, ETR, the Blitz, Mike Clay's projections from ESPN. So I've about 10 to 12 projection sources, and then I average them. And the idea being that I'll tell a little story here. So at a carnival game, like they used to have these like guess the bull weight competitions. So what happens is anytime you have this type of contest, the average of everyone's guess is always going to be really close to the actual number when it's this type of estimation problem. So that's what fantasy points are, right? They're an estimation of how many points the player is going to score. Now, in my opinion, averaging everybody's guesses, expert consensus, we'll call it, wisdom of the crowd is another term you could use for it. Averaging all of those up is going to be more accurate than any one estimation on its own. And that is what we saw this week. So all projection sources did pretty well. Everything was up above like a 0.56 R squared value, which that's nerd talk for just like an easy way to measure accuracy. There's a bunch of different accuracy metrics, but R squared is like a quick and dirty way. Anything above 5 means it's better than flipping a coin, essentially. Yeah, so ours were up over 0.5, 576. The only source to beat the aggregated projections that I'm using, that we're using at Gridiron AI to produce lineups and stuff for everybody, is was Stochastic. So shout out to them. Our friend Ryan, big time DFS player, really successful, is with them. So him and I were working together a little bit, but yeah, the Stochastic projections were the best this week. And then as I'm aggregating them as they update. All these sources are updating all throughout the weekend, all throughout Sunday. So you may not see the projections that like maybe you were using on Saturday to build your lineups. They might be different on Sunday, which honestly, it makes it tough to compete in DFS, but I think it's an edge. I basically waited to build my lineups until an hour before kickoff. So here's the results, the actual versus the expected, the projected. Like as you can see, a 0.57 here. That's the aggregation. I also calculated the error. So let's see what players we were the most wrong on. Okay. I'm going to pause here for a second and just make sure that this is going out. So what we're seeing here is Justin Jefferson outscored, but I mean, he just had his like ceiling game. What a freak that guy is. So Saquon Barkley, similar. One of the interesting ones here is Dontrell Hilliard. Again, this Derrick Henry got it kind of banged up a little bit. Dontrell Hilliard is definitely someone we're picking up on the waiver wire this week. I'll post something on Instagram about waiver wire pickups. I'll probably take a look at that stuff tomorrow. But Dontrell Hilliard, that's one we're wrong on, and we need to update our priors on him. He's talented. I fear that this is the beginning. I mean, I was full fade on him in the player pool and the rankings that we posted on Instagram. Dontrell Hilliard could be like a big deal this year. So I'm just going to highlight some of these players that I think we were wrong and we need to be quick to update. A good example of where we were wrong, week one, collective we, like the fantasy football community. Trey Lance had an awful first week. He doesn't look great. That game, throw it out, in my opinion, because Soldier Field in the rain is everyone's just trying to get out there without getting hurt. So not really a great one. I'm not pushing the panic button on Trey Lance yet, but it's not good. It's not good. But it's not like something you drop him or pick up a Carson Wentz to like play for him. But let me get rid of some of these duplicates. But yeah, let's see. Devin Duvernay had like a weird, like multiple touchdown game. That again is going to happen. We call these like black swan events. It is something that it'll be interesting to see what his projection is for next week, because the experts should update their priors on him. If it's the type of thing where he did all of that on like 3 targets, I'm probably not interested in him moving forward. Let's see, Devin Duvernay box score. All right, how many targets did he have? So he had 4 targets. 4 targets, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a classic avoid So yeah, I'll read him out. Cordarrelle Patterson. This is a good one. So Damian Williams went down. I mean, a lot of people that play fantasy football now play Dynasty, and Cordarrelle Patterson's like the best value in Dynasty leagues right now, just because he is a really good fantasy football type of player. He's just old. He's a weird player because he didn't really get his chance until he was 30, kind of a journeyman special teams player before that. But Cordarrelle Patterson like has a massive role in that offense. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if his projection is much higher next week, at least 3 or 4 points higher. Especially at Gridiron AI, we kind of use the rolling average. So it will pick up on that and we will adjust accordingly. Let's see here. AJ Brown, just a monster game from him. Kareem Hunt, again, I don't think that AJ Brown, Kareem Hunt, those are situations where we're going to be making any adjustments moving forward. These are games that we're going to get out of these people. And Devontae Adams, like freak, dog. Carson Wentz, again, I think that's a game I want to go back and watch. It was a competitive game. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's see Carson Wentz do it against like an actual defense. But I mean, it's good to see for Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson that Carson Wentz can still produce fantasy points. And again, I'm trying to think of a good way to get you guys on some of this stuff, but it's more of like I just need to teach you about process. Like, what am I doing like an hour leading up to Forelock? Because I was on, weirdly enough, a team, a really good team that had Carson Wentz. So if you look here, here's a Carson Wentz team. So how do you land on something like this? He was barely owned, rostered, draft percentage. We don't really like to say ownership percentage. Kind of gets a little dicey. But what I do is I set rules in an optimizer in the program that through Python and all that fun stuff. But what it does is I want to target situations, right, at the poles, at the extremes. So I either want the really high owned plays and the really low owned plays, and I want them on the same roster because the field's not going to be wrong about everything, and our projections aren't going to be wrong about everything. And the field's not going to be right about everything, and we're not going to be right about everything. So these are these contrarian plays like a Carson Wentz and Steelers, like no one's playing them. And on any given day, any defense can put up 26. Even the Steelers defense going into Cincinnati. Excuse me. All right. But yeah, so Christian Kirk had a great game. Robert Tonyan did get a catch. He's going to be kind of a factor moving forward, I think, for them, especially because their wide receivers are so bad. That game was really ugly for them. Tonyan looked good out there, coming off an ACL tear. Kirk looked good in Jacksonville. Again, a bit of an ugly game, but it's good to see Kirk has a lot of favor with Trevor Lawrence. Some good chemistry there. Michael Pittman Jr., just an absolute beast. Everybody wanted to play him. He's mispriced here, right? He's going to be priced up by Terry McLaurin next time. Terry got there with a touchdown. Not really great, but again, I had the double stack here. I was targeting double stacks. I was trying to get low owned plays. The optimizer was auto locking CMC and Pittman, was able to squeeze in Jonathan Taylor. So again, like I'm almost playing a different game than maybe some people are playing when they're just building lineups, like hand building them. It's not to say that like my way's better. It's just when you play a different game, you're going to end up on different plays. And history tells us that if you're on unique plays like this one, actually it won $10. But if you're playing this way, like there is a chance you're going to give yourself a chance to win a big tournament one day. And that's what I'm going to try and do this year. So I'm going to play a little bit off the wall. Let's take a look at that cash game lineup. So this actually was the best lineup here that I had. And it was just the cash game lineup. And all this all this was, I wish I could tell you that like I did all these crazy research things. Like this is just the optimal lineup from these aggregated projections. So this number, right, just gets plugged into my optimizer, and the optimizer is building to maximize like projection and salary. Just plug it in and don't touch it. So there's this like concept of like bias and noise. Like there's bias in this process because each one of the single projections has some type of bias in it, no matter what we do. Even machine learning algorithms have bias in them because they are sometimes like trained on biased data. This is not noisy though. So the reason why I'm very confident moving forward in that I think that we're going to continue to grow this bankroll is because this process is not noisy. I'm not doing a lot of tinkering. I'm researching. I'm reading up on stuff just because I want to be informed and I want to make sure like the tinkering I do is I just X out players that I know aren't going to have a role. And that is even like maybe not a great idea. That might be too much, but that's more of just me kind of because some of the projection sources like aren't projecting all the players. So like a good one is like Amir Abdullah, right? Interestingly enough, Amir Abdullah popped up in a couple teams for me. And Amir Abdullah was only projected in like 3 or 4 of the sources that I was aggregating. So I just got him out of there because I was like, well, some aren't even thinking of him as an option. He might not even be active. I didn't want to like risk that. Turns out that Oakland running back, not named Josh Jacobs, Brandon Bolden, actually had a really solid game. So it's weird sometimes that happens, but I'm comfortable fading a few things. You actually have to on DraftKings to get against their terms of service if you don't. So why X out more players than you should? And if you're really informed, if you really have a lot of time to like really research and get down to like the micro level, like sure, then that's when you can go in and maybe thumb the scale a little bit on some players. But I just think that like I'm targeting certain games, I'm targeting certain players, and trying to like basically massage the optimizer into different builds just to diversify across however many lineups. I made 23 lineups this week because I did want to be diverse around a specific core of players. So the main core being McCaffrey and Pittman. They were on every single lineup. But I also a ton of Kelsey, Jefferson, Hurts, all these players on this team. So yeah, this is a good example of a cash game lineup because it's paying up at 2 different running back spots. Barkley's not going to be priced down here anymore. He's just not. So it's going to get harder and harder to find this structure. But if you can pay up at 2 running back spots, get a rushing QB, Murray, Hurts, Lamar, Trey Lance, hopefully will be in that conversation at some point. Usually a cheap wideout. Dobbs has stepped into a role late with Alan Lazard injury. Michael Pittman, mispriced wide receiver. Dotson, again, surprised he's not min salary, but a cheap wide receiver. It's not always going to be a rookie either. Again, this is going to get grosser as the season goes on because these rookies are going to start getting priced up just because they're more valuable than min price. So you're going to see us playing some really gross wide receivers in cash, but it's kind of a good place to punt. Paying up at tight end or paying all the way down. That's what we're doing every single week. So Travis Kelce, you could fit him this week. There's no reason not to play him. What an absolute beast. Justin Jefferson, again, flex in the wideout spot is maybe a little volatile just because wide receiver is slightly more volatile of a scoring position than running back. But I mean, it just made sense this week. And I'm not making a lot of these decisions. Like the optimizer suggested this structure, so I just went with it because we're not worried about roster percent. So I wouldn't change anything about this. Really solid lineup. I mean, they went absolutely berserk. Okay. So that's that. Let's see. A couple other players that we were maybe too low or too high on. One second. And then I'm just going to kind of rattle off a few usage stats for us. We'll probably wrap this up about a half hour. Like I said, getting reps in. Hopefully be able to promote a stream on Saturday. Going to do that again. I'm running a half marathon this weekend, which as it approaches, I'm just like, why? Why am I doing that? But I know why. It feels really good to like take care of yourself. And yeah, I haven't been working out a whole lot the past few years, and it feels good. I feel good. I'm going to hopefully crush it, get under 10-minute mile pace, which is my goal. But yeah, so that is actually Sunday, which is going to make building lineups tough. But we're still going to do a stream on Saturday with Rob. Hopefully, I think he said he was going to be available. We're actually talked about a lot of good plays on that show. So if you want to kind of do this and do it well, and you want to come join us, like I do want that, like if we have viewers on that stream, like to make it kind of what they want it to be. So maybe do like a little bit of, I mean, I used to be a teacher. So I think it's way more valuable if you approach like content to like learn how to do it yourself. Because it's really hard. This is probably the best advice I could give anybody for DFS. It's really hard to win if you're not thinking for yourself. Like I could tell you all the great plays, and like as if this does get popular one day, like this platform, this podcast, this me streaming, like all like let's talk about someone that is popular. Like when ETR is like touting players, it's shifting ownership. When they tout a player prop, it's shifting the line at sports books. Like they have such a big following that like so many people are tailing their plays. It's almost not all that valuable anymore. Back in the glory days, like I was listening to podcasts like 6-7 years ago. Like the OG, like Roto Grinders podcasts. And not a lot of people were listening to podcasts in general, let alone like niche fantasy football podcasts. And because of that, like the information was a little more valuable just because it puts you on a little more contrarian plays. So it's like it's good to kind of get these tips and tricks on how to do it. But hopefully I want to set this up, and we're very early on in the process. I want to set this up as more of like as a class, so that you can 2 hours before lock on Sunday, like build lineups that you're confident about and have a solid process that makes gambling less of a gamble is probably how I would put it. Just because I think you can really lose a lot of money if you don't do this well. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do because I need to be better at that, and I'm trying to be better with that. And not every week will be a winning week like this one, but we will hopefully keep it rolling this week. But like I said, the process is pretty repeatable. I just kind of target games, stacks, all that fun stuff. Let the optimizer do its job. But yeah, some player usage stuff. So Steelers, I have to just go ahead and put my hand up. I got a little too hyped about George Pickens. I thought we did have some pretty solid evidence from the preseason that he had supplanted Chase Claypool as the number 2 in 2 wide receiver sets across from Deontay Johnson. Doesn't seem to be the case. And actually, weirdly enough, Claypool kind of had a Deebo Samuel type role, which like I'm only saying that because he had a 30% of the Steelers rushes. So that's a lot. And I think it's interesting. I'm glad they got the win. I'm a Steelers fan. So, but I say that to say George Pickens ended up with like 1 catch. He's like 3rd in line in that offense, as it seems, but he still ran 91% of the routes, which is what you want to see. He's still involved in the offense, and I think he's gonna have a really good rookie year. It's just a disappointing start, is all. But it's important to know that Claypool, if he's out on your waiver wire and you have Pickens right now, and you really, really need someone to like produce because you maybe lost week 1, go get Claypool. I mean, you can fix your mistake. Don't fall victim to like sunk cost fallacy where you think like, oh, because I invested so much in George Pickens preseason, I have to hold on to him. That's a really easy mistake to make week 1. Yeah, so Deontay Johnson, sticking with the Steelers, had a 30% target share, just absolute beast. Let's see, a couple other usage notes. Rushing yards, so the QB rushing shares. So 28%, Jalen Hurts had 28% of a designed rushing attempt. And I'm just pulling stuff for you guys from Dwayne McFarland's Twitter. Really good follow. So he's broken it down by, I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to pretend this information's mine. But yeah, this guy is such a great follow because he's telling you like the stuff that actually correlates with fantasy points the most is usage stats. So like snaps, routes run, the other stuff, the efficiency metrics are a little noisier, but snaps are pretty big signal. So these are designed rush attempt shares and scramble rates. So Jalen Hurts is such a good fantasy QB just because he had a lot of designed runs for him and he's scrambling a lot. So all of these players are running the ball a lot, which is good. Two surprises here, Marcus Mariota and Justin Fields. It's good to see Justin Fields is actually running this season. He wasn't really that much last year. And then also Marcus Mariota kind of out of nowhere. I think the Falcons are going to be a pretty fun team this year. All right, so let's see. Kadarius Toney just isn't a full-time player right now. He's kind of in the doghouse. What a weird player. Yeah, I was excited about him preseason. He did touch the ball twice, and he is definitely talented, but just can't get on the field. Can't score fantasy points. Saquon Barkley to the moon. Treylon Burks, look out for him. Solid amount of offense was flowing his way. So Treylon Burks, don't sleep on him. Let's take a look at the projections again. All right. So let's see who we were too low on. So Aaron Rodgers, just a gross game. Derrick Henry left a little early, or they shut him down early. Mike Williams, Devontae Smith. Surprising that he goose egged. Not really. I mean, AJ Brown is just such a freak, man. It's sad. Devonta Smith is one we might have to temper expectations on if AJ Brown's going to be such an alpha. But I think that's one. It's good to wait and see. I probably wouldn't thumb the scale at all in week 2. It'll be interesting to see if any of the projection sources do. I know Gridiron AI's model will just project him as is. It's not really going to react to a 1-game sample, and neither should you. Alvin Kamara, that is one where we're sounding the alarm on a little bit. Usage wasn't great. Not typical Alvin Kamara usage. So just keep an eye on that. Darnell Mooney is just bad at football, maybe. The Bears are just bad. So I'm just never really on him anyway. So I don't care that he underperformed our projection. T. Higgins got hurt, concussion. Look out for the other Mike Thomas, the Bengals Mike Thomas. He's like the direct backup. Solid pickup on the waiver wire. Like I said, I'll find those situations and post them on Instagram probably tomorrow. And I'm trying to be consistent. So hopefully we can keep this rolling. It's not easy. I got this isn't my full-time job, so I'll do my best. All right, Kyle Pitts, the usage is there. Just take a deep breath. It's coming. It's coming. Irv Smith, that's disappointing. I'm not really sure what happened there. Let's take a look at his usage. Trey Lance, again, gross game there in Chicago. Cole Kmet is not a full-time player. He's just not. Drop him. Drop Cole Kmet. Very, very concerning. He's splitting opportunities and reps with another tight end. Just not good. If that changes, by all means, sign me up. But again, I'm not really targeting Bears players. And yeah, Eli Mitchell's hurt. The interesting thing is this is a situation that you got to figure out. I think he's going to be out a few weeks, if I'm being honest with you. Some knee situation. Tyrion Davis-Price is the person everyone's going to pick up this week. I think it might be the other guy. Jordan Mason. So Jordan Mason is to Eli Mitchell that Tyrion Davis-Price is to Trey Sermon. To explain that in another way, so Trey Sermon was drafted before Eli Mitchell in last year's draft, had all the hype in the preseason, like, and we thought like Trey Sermon wheels up. He like torpedoed so many of my fantasy teams last year. And Eli Mitchell was the guy, drafted in the 7th round. Tyrion Davis-Price was drafted in the same round as Eli Mitchell. Jordan Mason, either undrafted or a 7th rounder. And Jordan Mason was active on Sunday, and Tyrion Davis-Price was not. We need to monitor that situation moving forward because Jeff Wilson is injury prone. I think he's next up. We want the next guy after that. And I think it's Jordan Mason, and I think I might be in the minority on that. So just keep an eye on it. We'll keep you updated. I feel like, yeah, that'd be good for the Instagram. Just posting, just like, hey, I got a pretty strong take. I think not everyone's on. Just put it out there for you guys. So yeah, I think it'll be useful to do some waiver wire stuff. Again, he's not a full-time player. He had 2 snaps in the first half. Mike Davis, it's Mike Davis. Just stop with the Mike Davis stuff. Hunter Renfrow, too many mouths to feed. It happens. Devontae Adams is an alpha. Darren Waller is an alpha. Hunter Renfrow is balding. He'll have some big games. Again, I'm not going to overreact to that, but I think those big time, like 30-point Hunter Renfrow games are a thing of the past. But if you drafted him, like, he's probably going to meet his median projection more often than not. It's just temper expectations. Not an explosive player. CMC was not up over like 95% of the snaps like he usually is, like Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman mixed in. But Christian McCaffrey, his snap rate was down, but all of his usage numbers are still right where you want them to be. So he's still like a big time, like crazy volume player. So do not sound the alarm on him. There's our friend George Pickens. I already talked to you about it. 91% route participation is fine. That's typically what you want to tail. AJ Green is old. I was kind of on him in DFS a little bit, but again, he is old. The guy who like was getting all the targets with Rondale Moore out was Greg Dortch. He's just not like a good, I don't know why I said it like that. Sorry, Greg Dortch. I'm sure you're a great dude, but Kyler Murray did not have a lot to work with on Sunday. So yeah. Amari Cooper is going to have some tough sledding while Jacoby Brissett is in town. We're not going to say the other quarterback's name, Underdog. They're like content creators refer to him as redacted. So we're going to refer to the newly signed Cleveland Browns quarterback as redacted. I'm going to follow that trend. All right. Yeah, let's see. Oh, let's actually see who we weren't so wrong on. Filter condition. Let's see who we like absolutely nailed within 2 and -2. Let's get rid of the zeros because that's cheating. All right, so Sky Moore, good. Yeah, I mean, that's good for us. Good for us. So we kind of projected the Kansas City receivers as like it's going to be a little bit spread out, and that turns out that's what happened. Yeah, some of these are interesting. It's a pretty long list that we're within 2 points. So shout out us. Chase Claypool, it's good. Juju. Yeah, we were really accurate on Kansas City. So that's encouraging. Watch out for Kansas City this year, by the way. I mean, Arizona's kind of all over the place. They might not be a great football team, but they've put a whooping on them. Let's get rid of Chicago. Yeah, okay, we nailed it. Michael Burton got projected. Isaiah Pacheco, that he did not really play until the game was like well out of hand, but I mean, I think he's a good player. So keep an eye on him, but like I wouldn't be rushing to the waiver wire to like overpay for him with your fab budget. So yeah, I'm gonna shut it down for now. Again, we're just getting reps in. Just got to get those reps in, and hopefully this is helpful if you're watching this back on YouTube. make sure you check out gridironai.com, and you can get 1 month free with the coupon code the number 1 month free, all caps. Check out our projections, our money line models. I think it's going to be a good year for Gridiron AI. We're working really hard, applying data science to fantasy football. And I'll be back on stream Saturday to talk about the slate, and keep an eye out on Instagram. I might post some a showdown lineup. You can just play it, and it'll probably win you some money, hopefully. All right, everybody, take it easy. Have a good one.